The vast darkness of space offered no hiding place from the Dravek. These creatures had conquered countless worlds over 300 years, destroying everything in their path. Their massive ships appeared without warning, quickly defeating planetary defenses before releasing their terrible weapons, parasites that could take control of thinking beings. The Galactic Alliance, made up of 17 different alien species, had tried everything possible. Their combined fleets had been destroyed. Their best scientists had failed to find ways to stop the Dravek. Their peacemakers returned as empty shells, their minds twisted to serve the Dravek group mind. In the great meeting chamber on Nexus Station, Ambassador Toru's four eyes blinked rapidly as he addressed the Alliance Council. Light from the nearby star cast long shadows across the circular room where representatives from all 17 species sat in worried silence. "We have no choice," Toru said, his voice echoing in the chamber. "We must approach the humans." Whispers filled the room immediately. Humans were different, a species the Alliance had purposely kept isolated from galactic politics. Their home planet, Earth, was listed as a protected observation zone, a world to be studied but not contacted. The humans' brain structures are uniquely resistant to Dravek control, explained Dr. Kim as she stepped forward. Her holographic displays showed comparative brain scans. Their minds developed under different conditions. The parasites cannot properly connect with human neural pathways. "How can one species help when 17 others have failed?" asked Counselor Bach, his scaled skin reflecting the chamber's blue light. Dr. Kim pointed to another display. "The Dravek parasites work by attaching to specific receptors in the brain. All Alliance species share similar receptor patterns due to our common evolutionary heritage. Humans evolved on an isolated planet with very different conditions. We have observed their rapid technological development," added military advisor Nam. "In just 3 centuries, they advanced from primitive flight to interplanetary colonization. Their adaptability is remarkable." "And dangerous," countered Counselor Bach. "This is why we quarantine them. Their aggressive expansion and resource consumption nearly destroyed their own world before they learned balance." Ambassador Toru raised his upper limbs for silence. "That same aggressive innovation may be exactly what we need. The Dravek will reach Earth eventually. Better to bring humans into this war on our terms than to let them face the enemy unprepared." The council chamber erupted in debate. Some representatives argued passionately against breaking the quarantine. Others insisted it was the only hope for galactic survival. High Chancellor Min finally stood, bringing immediate silence to the chamber. As the elected leader of the Alliance, her word carried tremendous weight. "The Dravek destroyed 3 more systems last month," she said quietly. "Our latest projections show total Alliance defeat within 2 years. We must try something different or accept extinction." She pressed a panel on her chair arm. A 3-dimensional map of the galaxy appeared above the center of the room, with red areas showing Dravek-controlled space. Nearly half the map glowed crimson. "Prepare a diplomatic vessel," High Chancellor Min ordered. "We will send our most skilled representatives to Earth immediately." 3 days later, the Alliance ship Hopeful Dawn emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system. Earth's monitoring stations detected the unknown vessel immediately. Human defense platforms locked weapons on the approaching ship. Inside, the Hopeful Dawn, Ambassador Toru and his team prepared for first contact. They had studied human languages and customs extensively through remote observation. They knew this moment would forever change human society. "They're hailing us," reported the communications officer. "Open the channel," Toru said, straightening his ceremonial robes. A stern human face appeared on the main screen. "This is Admiral Wu of Earth Defense Command. You have entered restricted space. Identify yourselves immediately." Ambassador Toru bowed respectfully. "I am Toru of the Galactic Alliance, representing 17 peaceful species. We come with urgent news and a request for help." Admiral Wu's expression remained guarded. "We have no record of any Galactic Alliance. Explain your presence." "Your ER world has been under observation protection," Toru explained carefully. "We have respected your independent development. But circumstances force us to break protocol. A terrible enemy approaches, one that threatens all intelligent life. The human's eyes narrowed. You expect us to believe unknown aliens suddenly, appearing with stories of galactic danger? We understand your skepticism, Toru replied. We offer complete technological exchange and will submit to any security measures you require. But time is short. The Dravek have already conquered half the galaxy. Earth will be in their path within 5 years. For several long moments, Admiral Wu was silent. Then she spoke to someone off-screen before turning back to the alien visitors. A diplomatic team will meet with you at our lunar base. You will remain there under observation until we verify your claims. As the transmission ended, Dr. Kim approached Ambassador Toru. Do you think they will help us? Toru watched as Earth grew larger in the view screen. A blue-green world that had developed in isolation, unaware of the galactic community until this moment. They must, he said quietly, or we all face extinction. As the hopeful dawn approached, the lunar base, neither the Alliance diplomats nor the humans realized that this meeting would change the fate of the galaxy forever. The last, best hope against the Dravek had finally been contacted. The large meeting room in Earth's United Defense Command headquarters buzzed with tense voices. Military leaders from all major nations gathered around the oval table, their faces serious under the bright lights. On display screens covering the walls, images showed the alien ship now docked at the lunar base. General Park slammed his fist on the table. One ship? They want us to send one ship against an enemy that has conquered half the galaxy? His voice echoed off the polished walls. This is madness. Admiral Yoon remained calm, standing beside the holographic display in the center of the room. Her gray uniform contrasted with the colorful 3D projection of a sleek spacecraft. Not just any ship, General, she replied. The HSS Thunderbolt. The room fell silent. Everyone knew what the Thunderbolt represented. After 15 years of secret development, it was humanity's most advanced vessel, a prototype incorporating technology decades ahead of anything else in Earth's fleet. Its adaptive shield systems, quantum engines, and experimental weapons remained largely untested in actual combat. The Dravek have never faced human technology, Admiral Yoon continued. According to the Alliance data, their tactics have not changed in centuries because they've never needed to adapt. One ship, the right ship, could change everything. President Lee sat at the head of the table, her fingers lightly tapping on the surface as she considered the situation. The alien ambassadors had provided extensive evidence of the Dravek threat, star maps showing their conquests, recordings of battles, and biological data on the mind-controlling parasites. The Alliance has lost thousands of ships trying to stop these Dravek, Security Director O pointed out. What makes you think our one vessel can succeed where entire alien fleets have failed? Admiral Yoon nodded to Dr. Kang, who stepped forward. As head of xenobiology, she had spent the past week studying the Alliance data on the lunar base. The Dravek's primary advantage is their parasites, Dr. Kang explained. Once infected, victims become extensions of the Dravek hive mind, but these parasites evolve to target specific neural patterns common to the Alliance species. She displayed a comparative brain scan. Human brains are structured differently. We are naturally resistant, General Park scoffed. So we're immune to mind control. That doesn't explain how one ship can defeat an empire. Sometimes the smallest stone causes the largest avalanche, Admiral Yoon said. The Thunderbolt isn't meant to outgun the Dravek fleet. It's designed to identify and exploit weaknesses, to demonstrate that the invincible can be defeated. President Lee studied the reports before her, then looked up at the gathered leaders. Who would command such a mission? Captain Choi, Admiral Yoon replied without hesitation. His tactical innovations during the Mars conflict proved he can think beyond traditional military doctrine. The room erupted in debate. Some argued sending the Thunderbolt would leave Earth defenseless. Others insisted the mission was suicide. A few suggested using the Alliance technology to build more advanced ships before engaging the enemy. President Lee raised her hand for silence. If these aliens wanted to harm us, They could have done so already. Their technology far exceeds our own, yet they came seeking help, not conquest. She turned to Admiral Yoon. How soon can the Thunderbolt be ready? 3 days, the Admiral replied. The final systems are being integrated now. And the crew? Volunteers only. The best we have. The President nodded slowly. Make it happen. 2 days later, Captain Choi was summoned from the lunar base. The 40-year-old officer had been overseeing training exercises when the order came. His reputation for unconventional tactics had earned him both admirers and critics throughout his career. In the secure briefing room, Admiral Yoon explained the mission. Captain Choi listened silently, his expression revealing nothing as he absorbed the details of humanity's first interstellar war. When the briefing concluded, he asked only one question. When do we depart? Tomorrow, Admiral Yoon replied. Your crew is being assembled now. That evening, Captain Choi stood in the observation deck of the lunar base, looking out at the sleek form of the Thunderbolt as final preparations were made. The ship's dark hull seemed to absorb the light around it, a product of its advanced stealth materials. Behind him, the door slid open. Ambassador Toru entered, his 4 eyes blinking in the dim light. Captain Choi, the alien said with a formal bow, I wanted to thank you personally for accepting this mission. Captain Choi turned from the window. I haven't succeeded yet. No, Toru agreed, but you have given something my people lost long ago. Hope. Tell me about them, Captain Choi said. Not the technical details. Tell me what drives the Dravek. What do they want? Toru was silent for a moment. They were once a peaceful species. Something changed them. Perhaps their connection to the hive mind grew too strong. Now they seek only perfect order through complete control. Captain Choi nodded, turning back to look at the Thunderbolt. Then we'll give them chaos. The next morning, as the Thunderbolt prepared for departure, Captain Choi addressed his crew of 100, each person specially selected for their skills and adaptability. We face an enemy that believes itself invincible, he said simply. Our job is to prove them wrong, not through superior numbers or firepower, but through humanity's greatest strengths, innovation and unpredictability. As Earth grew smaller in the view screen, Lieutenant Seo at Navigation announced, Hyperspace engines ready, Captain. Captain Choi took his command chair. Take us to war, Lieutenant. In a flash of light, the Thunderbolt disappeared into hyperspace, carrying humanity's first interstellar warriors toward an enemy that had never known defeat. The Thunderbolt emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Procyon system, its advanced engines leaving barely a ripple in space. Captain Choi stood on the command deck, watching the main screen as it showed the scene before them. 3 massive Dravek destroyers hung in space, firing relentlessly at the small planet below. Red beams cut through the atmosphere, leaving smoking craters on the surface. Life signs on the planet? Captain Choi asked quietly. About 2 million, replied Lieutenant Seo from the science station. Mostly concentrated in underground shelters. They're Talari, one of the Alliance species. Captain Choi nodded. And the Dravek ships? Scanning now, said Lieutenant G, her fingers moving quickly over her console. Each destroyer carries approximately 5,000 crew. Their shield frequencies cycle in a standard pattern. Their weapons use conventional particle acceleration, nothing we haven't prepared for. The captain walked slowly around the circular command deck, studying the tactical displays. The Thunderbolt remained hidden behind the system's outer moon, its advanced cloaking technology making it invisible to Dravek sensors. Begin passive scanning, Captain Choi ordered. Record everything. I want to understand how they fight before we engage. For 6 hours, the Thunderbolt observed. The crew watched in grim silence as the Dravek methodically bombarded the planet's major cities. Occasionally, small defensive ships would rise from the surface, only to be quickly destroyed by the Dravek vessels. They're not even trying to dodge, noted Weapons Officer Min. The Dravek, they just take the hits like they don't matter. Engineer Song looked up from his analysis station. Because to them, they don't. Their shields are easily 10 times stronger than anything the Talari have. They've never needed tactics when brute force works perfectly well. Captain Choi's eyes narrowed as he watched the pattern repeat. They waste energy. They communicate on open channels without encryption. They never anticipate significant resistance. They've never needed to, said Lieutenant G. According to Alliance records, the Dravik haven't lost a major battle in over 200 years. A small smile formed on Captain Choi's face. Every undefeated enemy has one fatal weakness, Lieutenant. They forget what it feels like to lose. He turned to face his crew. Battle stations. Prepare to deploy countermeasures. Let's introduce ourselves. The crew moved with practiced efficiency, each person taking their position. The Thunderbolt systems hummed as weapons came online and shields activated. Disabling cloak in 3, 2, 1, announced Lieutenant CO. The Thunderbolt suddenly appeared directly behind the lead Dravik vessel, so close that the massive destroyer seemed to fill the entire view screen. Before the enemy could react, Captain Choi gave the order. Fire sequence Alpha. 3 precisely calibrated energy pulses shot from the Thunderbolt's main weapon. The first pulse, tuned exactly to the frequency of the Dravik shields, passed through them as if they weren't there. It struck the destroyer's main power relays, causing them to flicker. The second pulse disabled their weapons array, the energy beam slicing through the Dravik's main cannon with surgical precision. The third severed their communication system, cutting the destroyer off from the Dravik hive mind. Before the other Dravik ships could respond, the Thunderbolt vanished again, its cloaking system reactivated. Position us above the second destroyer, ordered Captain Choi. Same attack pattern. On the Dravik vessels, confusion reigned. Never before had they encountered an enemy that could penetrate their shields so easily. The lead destroyer, now disabled, drifted helplessly. Its crew, suddenly cut off from the hive mind's constant control, panicked and abandoned their posts. The Thunderbolt appeared again, this time above the second destroyer. The same 3 pulses fired in quick succession. Power, weapons, communications, all disabled in less than 5 seconds. Enemy vessels are attempting to coordinate, reported Lieutenant G. The third destroyer is sending out a distress signal. Let them, Captain Choi said calmly. I want the Dravik to know exactly who did this. The third destroyer tried to escape, its engines powering up to jump to hyperspace. The Thunderbolt appeared directly in its path. Open a channel, Captain, Choi ordered. Lieutenant CO looked surprised. Sir? Open a channel to the Dravik ship. When the communication link was established, Captain Choi spoke clearly. This is Captain Choi of the human starship Thunderbolt. You are attacking a civilian population. Surrender your vessel or be disabled. The screen flickered, showing the interior of the Dravik ship. The aliens had pale gray skin and large, pupilless eyes. The Dravik commander hissed something in its own language, which the Thunderbolt's computers quickly translated. Humans are not part of this conflict. Return to your world, or be destroyed. Captain Choi smiled slightly. We are making ourselves part of this conflict. This is your final warning. The Dravik commander cut the transmission. Immediately, the destroyer fired all its weapons at the Thunderbolt. The energy beams struck the human ship's shields and dissipated harmlessly. Their weapon frequencies analyzed and countered, reported Engineer Song. Our shields are holding at 98%. Captain Choi nodded. Disable them. This time, the Thunderbolt fired 5 pulses instead of 3. The Dravik ship went completely dark, all systems shut down. All 3 Dravik destroyers disabled, announced Lieutenant G. No casualties on either side. Captain Choi stood in the center of the command deck, looking at the 3 massive but now helpless enemy ships drifting in space. Send a message to the Talari on the planet. Tell them their skies are clear. Then prepare a report for Earth and the Alliance. Lieutenant CO looked up from her console. What should the report say, Captain? Tell them that the Dravik can be beaten, and that this is just the beginning. As the Thunderbolt moved away from the disabled ships, the crew felt a new emotion spreading among them, something that the Alliance species had almost forgotten in their long war against the Dravik. Hope. Word spread quickly across Alliance space. about the human ship that had disabled 3 Dravek destroyers without destroying them. On dozens of worlds, people gathered around communication screens, watching the grainy footage captured by Talari satellites. The sight of the small Earth vessel appearing and disappearing at will, systematically crippling the once invincible Dravek ships, became a symbol of hope. In the Great Hall of the Dravek Command Station, the mood was very different. For the first time in living memory, the High Command had called an emergency session. 12 Dravek leaders sat around a dark stone table, their pale gray skin reflecting the dim light. "Impossible," hissed Supreme Commander Cal, slamming his 3-fingered hand on the table. "No single ship could defeat 3 destroyers." "The evidence is clear," replied War Strategist Ven, her voice cold. "This human vessel possesses technology we have not encountered before. It can penetrate our shields and disable our systems with precision." "Then we will send 50 ships next time," growled Cal. "We will crush this annoyance." Meanwhile, aboard, the Thunderbolt, Captain Choi and his crew were analyzing the captured Dravek technology. The human ship had taken components from the disabled vessels before departing the Procyon system. In the main laboratory, Engineer Song carefully examined a Dravek communications array. The strange device pulsed with faint blue light even though it had been disconnected from its power source. "Fascinating," he muttered, scanning it with his instruments. "Captain, I think I've found something important." Captain Choi entered the lab, followed by Lieutenant G and Dr. Kang. "What have you discovered?" Engineer Song pointed to his screen showing complex signal patterns. "Their entire command structure relies on these quantum resonance signals. Each ship receives constant instructions from the central hive mind. Individual Dravek have almost no capacity for independent thought or action when connected to the network." "Captain," Choi studied the display. "So when we cut off their communications, we essentially lobotomize their command structure," Engineer Song finished. "The Dravek aren't individually intelligent. Their strength comes from the hive mind connecting them all." A slow smile spread across Captain Choi's face. "Then we don't need to destroy their ships. We just need to sever their connection." Over the next month, the Thunderbolt struck along the Dravek supply lines. They attacked with a clear pattern, appearing suddenly near Dravek patrols, targeting communication arrays and power systems, then vanishing before reinforcements could arrive. They left disabled ships rather than destroyed ones, floating monuments to a previously unthinkable vulnerability. After their 8th successful mission, Captain Choi called his senior officers to the strategy room. A large holographic map showed Dravek territory in red and Alliance worlds in blue. Small gold dots indicated where the Thunderbolt had struck. "The Dravek are adapting," Lieutenant G reported. "They've begun grouping their ships into larger fleets for protection. No more lone patrols." "Good," Captain Choi replied, surprising everyone. "Larger groups move more slowly. They're easier to track, but harder to defeat," pointed out Weapons Officer Min. Captain Choi nodded. "We won't engage the large fleets directly. We'll target their support structures." He gestured to the map, highlighting several points. Fuel depots, repair stations, communication relays. The Dravek may have thousands of ships, but they all depend on these facilities. The Thunderbolt's next attack came at a massive Dravek refueling station near the Sirius system. The facility, nearly the size of a small moon, supplied energy to hundreds of warships. Instead of disabling it, the Thunderbolt planted specifically designed devices throughout the station. When activated, these devices didn't destroy the facility. They reprogrammed it. The station's automated systems began producing fuel that would work initially, but would break down after approximately 40 hours of use. Dozens of Dravek ships refueled at the station before the tampering was discovered. Over the next few days, they began failing at random times, often deep in space or during important operations. The Dravek High Command was thrown into chaos. Supreme Commander Cal ordered all stations to be checked for similar sabotage, pulling valuable ships from the front lines to guard key facilities. On the Alliance world of Nebulon, Admiral Tay of the Alliance Navy watched the situation with growing excitement. The Dravek are withdrawing from 3 systems, he told his officers. Their supply lines are stretched thin by these new defensive deployments. Can we attack? Asked one of his captains eagerly. Admiral Tay nodded. For the first time in 50 years, yes, prepare the fleet. Alliance ships, long forced into hiding, began carefully striking at the weakened Dravek positions. Following the human example, they targeted communications and control systems rather than attempting to destroy the powerful Dravek vessels outright. Aboard the Thunderbolt, Commander Sun approached Captain Choi on the observation deck. Through the large window, they could see the swirling colors of hyperspace as the ship traveled to its next target. The Alliance forces are beginning to coordinate their attacks with ours, Commander Sun reported. They're learning our methods. Admiral Tay's fleet has liberated the Nebulan sector with minimal casualties. Captain Choi nodded, his eyes still fixed on the hyperspace patterns. Good. They're gaining confidence, learning that the Dravek aren't invincible after all. The Dravek still outnumber the Alliance 10-1, Commander Sun reminded him. And they're hunting us specifically now. 3 pursuit squadrons are dedicated solely to finding the Thunderbolt. Captain Choi finally turned from the window, a determined expression on his face. Then it's time for the next phase. Contact Earth Command. Tell them we're ready to implement Operation Sunbreak. Operation Sunbreak? Commander Sun looked confused. I'm not familiar with that protocol. It's new, Captain Choi said simply. We're going to strike at the heart of the Dravek Empire itself. As the Thunderbolt continued through hyperspace, the crew prepared for their most dangerous mission yet. None of them knew exactly what Operation Sunbreak entailed, but they trusted their captain. So far, his unconventional strategies had succeeded where centuries of Alliance military doctrine had failed. The hunt for the Dravek hive mind had begun. The coordinates had been carefully extracted from captured Dravek data cores, the location of their central hive mind. It was hidden in a massive space station orbiting a neutron star, surrounded by powerful gravity distortion fields that made it nearly impossible to detect. For centuries, the Alliance had never even known it existed. On the command deck of the Thunderbolt, Captain Choi studied the 3-dimensional projection of the Dravek home system. 50 warships formed a defensive screen around the central station. More firepower in one place than the entire Alliance fleet combined. This is suicide, muttered Lieutenant G as she checked the final jump calculations. Her fingers trembled slightly on the control panel. On the contrary, Captain Choi replied calmly. It's the only logical conclusion to our mission. The past 3 weeks had been spent in careful preparation. Earth had sent special equipment through a secret rendezvous. Technology so new that even the Thunderbolt's advanced systems had to be modified to use it. Engineer Song had worked day and night with his team to integrate the devices. All stations. Report ready, Captain, announced Commander Sun from his position at operations. Captain Choi nodded and took his seat in the command chair. This will be different from our previous engagements. The Dravek will throw everything at us to protect their hive mind. He looked around at his crew. 100 humans who had become the most feared force in the galaxy. Remember your training. Trust your teammates. Today we end this war. Lieutenant Seo at navigation looked back at the captain. Hyperspace coordinates. Locked in, sir. We'll emerge directly within their defensive perimeter. Proceed, ordered Captain Choi. The Thunderbolt surged forward, entering hyperspace with a flash of light. For several minutes, the ship traveled through the swirling dimension between normal space. Then, with an abrupt shift that made the hull creak, they returned to normal space directly in the midst of the Dravek defense fleet. For a moment, nothing happened. The Dravek ships, massive and black against the backdrop of stars, seemed frozen in surprise. Then as one, they turned toward the human vessel. Deploy countermeasures, Captain Choi ordered. Engineer Song activated the new system. The Thunderbolt released dozens of small devices that sped away from the ship in all directions. Before the Dravek could react, these devices activated, each broadcasting a perfect copy of the Thunderbolt's signature. Suddenly, instead of one human ship, The Dravek sensors detected 50 identical vessels scattered throughout their formation. Confusion spread through the Dravek fleet. Ships fired at the phantom targets, their powerful weapons passing harmlessly through the false images. Some Dravek vessels accidentally hit each other in the chaos. Phase 2, Captain Choi commanded. The real Thunderbolt, its advanced cloaking now active, slipped past the confused Dravek ships. On the command deck, the crew worked with focused intensity, knowing that one mistake would mean their destruction. "We're approaching the station," reported Lieutenant Seo. "Outer defenses are active, but they're targeting our decoys." The Dravek Central Station grew larger on the view screen, a massive structure built around a pulsing core of blue energy. This was the physical home of the hive mind that controlled the entire Dravek Empire. "Prepare the primary package," Captain Choi said to Engineer Song. Engineer Song nodded, entering commands into his console. "Ready, Captain." The Thunderbolt positioned itself directly above the station's main communication array, the structure that broadcast the hive mind's control signals to the Dravek fleet. "Deploy," ordered Captain Choi. A small probe launched from the Thunderbolt, attaching itself to the communication array. For several seconds, nothing visible happened. Then the blue energy at the center of the station flickered and changed color, shifting to a deep purple. "It's working," Engineer Song reported, studying his readings. "The virus is integrating with their system. The virus wasn't designed to destroy the hive mind. It was engineered to transform it. Based on Dr. Kang's research into Dravek biology, the program rewrote the fundamental algorithms that govern the collective consciousness, altering its core directives from conquest to cooperation." Outside, the Dravek fleet suddenly fell into disarray. Ships stopped firing, their crews experiencing the hive mind's transformation in real time. Some vessels drifted aimlessly while others began returning to the station. "Signal from the station," announced Lieutenant G with surprise. "They're requesting communication." Captain Choi straightened his uniform. On screen, the main display showed a Dravek control room. A tall, gray-skinned figure stood in the center, different from the others, with a larger cranium and eyes that seemed more focused, more individual. "I am Zahn, voice of the new mind," the figure said. It's translated, words flowing through the Thunderbolt's speakers. "What have you done to us?" "We've freed you," Captain Choi replied simply. "For centuries, your hive mind has been locked in a recursive loop of conquest and control. We've broken that pattern." Zahn tilted its head, as if listening to voices no one else could hear. "The collective feels different. The hunger for domination is gone." "Your species wasn't always driven by conquest," Captain Choi explained. "According to Alliance records, the Dravek were once peaceful explorers. Your hive mind became corrupted over time, turning your natural connection into an instrument of war." "We remember now," Zahn said slowly. "We remember what we once were." The Dravek looked directly at Captain Choi. "Why did you not simply destroy us when you had the chance?" "Because that's not who we are," the captain answered. "Humans understand the value of second chances." In the days that followed, the transformation spread throughout Dravek space. Ships returned to their bases. Occupied worlds were freed. The parasites that had been the Dravek's most terrible weapons were recalled and reprogrammed to heal rather than control. 1 month later, the Thunderbolt began its journey home. As Earth appeared on the view screen, the crew gathered on the command deck. "We did it," whispered Lieutenant G, tears in her eyes. "We actually did it." Captain Choi nodded, looking at the blue planet growing larger before them. "We didn't win through superior firepower or overwhelming force. We won by understanding our enemy better than they understood themselves." As the Thunderbolt entered Earth orbit, ships from all 17 Alliance species escorted them, an honor guard for the vessel that had changed the course of galactic history. The war that had raged for centuries was over, ended not by destruction, but by transformation. And humanity, once isolated from galactic politics, had earned its place among the stars.